My name is Dagdag. Today I'm going to talk about this using GenAI to ingest content from documents, images, videos, and audio sources. And feel free to ask questions, from this presentation. Of course, I've always enjoyed the discussion. That's why one of the things I also organize meetups, and one of the best ways working, talking, and meetups is the discussions. For me, being able to answer some questions is a learning opportunity. Today, also talk about turning messy content into structured value. This one using Azure AI. So, my name is Dagdag. I am an engineering manager at 7-Eleven. I am also a Microsoft MVP. I'm Microsoft MVP since 2017. I've been awarded as community leader, AI, Windows development, Internet of Things, mixed reality, a lot of things that I'm very interested in. And I live by this mantra in terms of I code, I'm from a software engineering background, and I create stuff. I create an experiment, and then I code, teach what I've learned, and then repeat. So what I'm going to talk about today, all these are opinions expressed here on my own and not my employer. But today we're going to talk about unstructured data. Of course, a lot of it, especially when you're talking about IoT, a lot of it is unstructured data, and it's not easy to work on those data. Documents, videos, those are unstructured data. If it's structured, it would have been easy, right? And then I'm going to demo how to extract data from LLMs, using LLMs, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about this Azure AI Content Understanding, and we're going to do a little bit of workshop, a little bit of fun tonight, and talk about responsibility. Ready? Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll start there. All right. So from unstructured data to structured data. So why is it important to documents are everywhere, right? You work with documents, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, even videos, right? Videos, PDFs, scans, emails, reports. Those things sometimes you always those things are very important for business, right? I mean, if you're in business, most likely you have all these emails and all these, not necessarily in tables. So the same way as you have your IoT data, they're coming from sensors, but those are operational technology. These documents also as part of your operations, right? So of course, sometimes you'll have people that manually retype or scan, capture some of this information. But how can we use these data and make it structured, right? How do you use it for workflows? These days, we're talking about agents. You hear about agents. So has anyone here used ChatGPT? Hopefully, a lot of you even tried or kind of worked on it. I wanted to do a little bit of demo of things you can do with ChatGPT, because sometimes that's some people may have not kind of worked on this before. So, of course, ChatGPT is usually used for asking questions on Google, right? And you use it for. But how can we use it for documents? I don't know if you're familiar with or used documents before, attaching documents to your, whenever you ask questions to ChatGPT. So there's this document that I have, and this one is the inspection checklist. This looks familiar, right? You've seen this before, or of course, if you own a Honda, this is kind of like, you have, the mechanic kind of looking at like, what's happening in your car, battery, and all these different things. And sometimes before they would mark it on paper, now computerized. But this is one of the forms, right? One of the forms. But what I want to do is whatever is written on that form, I want to extract that data. Can we extract that data? Has anyone here worked with like OCR or like OCR projects in the past? So a lot of this is kind of like OCR, but if you look at it, this form is a little bit different because not just colors, right? Not just you know, text, and also some drawings in, right? You can do check marks, you can highlight, you can put numbers in it, and those kind of things. So I attach that to my ChatGPT and says, extract information from this document and convert it to a JSON file. And with the JSON file, that's pretty much a lot of the things that we can transpose to that so that we can have it processed without a machine. It could be a CSV file, or it could be some other types of table. Look at this, and with these two things, it actually gave me some information. Right? It gave me a list of this JSON file to kind of pull what is already text on that document and give me some of this information. And I didn't have to do any programming. I didn't have to do all the different things. I know it's kind of harder to read, but maybe I can make it a little bit bigger for everyone. But it has some data and it has kind of understanding of what that document looks like and the kind of format. There's inspection, right? There's data, and it kind of tells you like the status of this data that it was able to extract. Battery information under the hood. You see where I'm getting at? It's the power of these AI models that's available for us can be used in something like, I have some documents, I have some videos and audio. Can I convert it into something useful? That's pretty much a lot of us here is looking at, like, are there some data that is available, not just at the enterprise level, not just at the store, or not just, can we convert that into something useful that can be in a dashboard, and be able to. Any questions so far? I bet you have some documents too if you want to filter through this and you want to see how it would turn out, right? And it actually can start analyzing. There's a bunch of data you can use. So going back to presentation here, a little bit of that. That's using the large language model in order to process data without any programming, right? Without any changes. It's just a question that I place the documents, but I can put that in a workflow. So of course, it has limitations. So just asking the LLM to do stuff for you, it's not enough, because hear that every time they talk about AI these days, there's that hallucination. It's not really thinking or hallucinating, but it can have errors, but it does not know it's making errors. Right? It won't tell you. It's one of those things that it would just have an opinion for itself. Whatever it can need.
Question. So looking at a document, I can ask, what does it mean in general, or I have to be more specific with my question? For example, the Honda or Toyota, whatever it was, that document, I must ask it specific a question, or can I just ask, well, what does all this mean? That's too general.
Yes.
I must ask something more specific. I have to have
not just
goal.
specific, but sometimes you have to add more information in order to have a useful response out of it. You can have it summarize. Here's some text. Right? You can have it read some of these information, but of course they would, in order to use this language model, you have to have what we call grounding data, some information that might help in order to make sure that it's confident with its answer, right? So it's data that we can have, and also at the same time, it produces different output every time. If I ask it again, how do you? If I ask it again, how do you prevent it from? If I convert it to this JSON file or this data, and now it converts it to a different one, it can have different answers. You use ChatGPT, and every time you ask questions, it's possible that the results can be different too, or not just that, but it answers your questions different. Same way. So how do you make it consistent? So that's our goal. And then, of course, layout awareness, like tables, columns, and footers. there's different types of documents. There's medical documents, there's images and documents, X-ray documents. There's a lot more things. So that here helps. So the goal here is to kind of like I have data that I uploaded, and then it would give me that I know this document. It has a context that it needs in order to convert it into something useful. So it's the way I kind of look at it is more like you're a Matrix fan, or I grew up with this Matrix where he's so connected to the computer and it's like he uploaded and then now he knows kung fu, that stuff. So it's interesting. So how do we do that? So that's where the Azure AI Content Understanding is kind of helping us on this one to help us process some of these documents. So it's really focused on documents, images, videos. So the way I wanted to talk to it today is like, how do we do that for, imagine if, not just IoT data, but also can we use these documents as a trigger for something or something that would help us with dashboard or we have it to where it's somewhere structured, because IoT data, whenever we're collecting them, it's usually messy data, but at some point we convert it into something structured. We feed it into something that's a user-defined output, so we can have the right dashboard, right monitoring, the right trigger. So I wanted to do a little bit of demo where you would use this, because I wanted to have people experience what it means. So I have some paper here, and there's a few things I wanted to do with the team. So if you can pass it off, this piece of paper, and then also if you need a pen, feel free to get a pen. But I would like to showcase this a little bit. I think it's really fun. I want to kind of talk a little bit of this. And I know a lot of the audience may have what. So here's what I'm going to showcase and talk about. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask everyone to that piece of paper. I'll give you 5 minutes. I want you to draw a page. I need to turn on the lights a little bit. But and also I would need you to pull up your phone and take pictures of the drawing of the page. So we're using AI and psychology. Okay. So draw. I'll give 5 minutes to everyone, a few minutes, and then we're gonna share a place where we can upload. Draw a pig. That's the instruction. Pig.
And take a picture of it, right?
Yes. So what we're gonna do, we're not gonna get out of here. So this is what we're gonna do is we're gonna use AI to convert whatever drawing that you have, convert it into something useful. I don't know how useful it is, but it's just always interesting to show it. And if there's anything that I would like you to take out of this presentation, and something that's very useful for me, is that if you're using Chrome and you want to share a QR code with a bunch of people, you can actually share, click on this 3, share, and then create a QR code. And that you can use to create a QR code. And if you
Okay, so where did this QR code come from?
it was generated by Chrome, you can share and then create QR code. It's part of it. If you want to share a website or you want to share something from the audience and you wanted to, it's just a little bit of tidbit for everyone. But take a picture of that one and then you can click skip timer and then you can take a picture of your pig and then.
So you want us to take a picture of the pig that we just drawn
Yes.
and then do what?
And it will give you the results of the analysis.
But I have to first do it.
Yeah, you upload it on that site.
I first scan that code.
You scan the QR code, it would give you the same place where I'm looking at right now. Yeah. You know, it scans QR code and it will go take you to the website. Anyone is able to?
You make the word a bit larger.
Okay. Anyone was able to take a picture? Yeah. And then did you submit? And
Yeah, I was able to take a
did
picture.
it give you any result?
It gave me a summary here. It says your tendency to be a realist. Your friends may enjoy playing devil's advocate, the fury of avoiding confrontational discussions.
It might be the same as everyone else.
Hey, we had a good lesson there.
You know, I use Bing now. Bing works as well.
Bing, yeah.
I'm sorry, Edge.
It might be the same for everyone. So yeah, you would see something like where you can upload, analyze that drawing. But the important thing, what I wanted to showcase to everyone, and where it's trying to analyze, is it has this vision analysis. It tries to summarize what it's seeing, right? It says here the drawing depicts a pig's face with round shape, two large triangular ears. So it's describing what it's seeing. So think about it in terms of videos, images, and stuff that you can describe. And it gives you a little bit of indication of what what's seen. But I didn't have to program this. That's what I'm saying. Doing the analysis. Right? It's just you send it to this service.
Sorry, what was the point of this exercise?
To vision, right? AI vision.
Oh,
Using AI vision and doing analysis. So we have documents, you have PDFs. Can you use vision data? Right? That's and of course, what else can it do? Right?
And
How do you make it structured? Yeah. So how did it kind of understand that data? So why do we think so? Right? So placement. Where did you place the drawing? And analyzing that.
Hey,
It also talks about.
Can y'all make it where we can see his slides bigger?
Gary,
All
Chris,
the
Is that
small
better?
stuff on the screen.
anything you can do to make it bigger?
Little, but not
I can make it
You
screen.
hide all the,
If that's, yeah, I
all
can
the
make it.
people.
Yeah.
Problem is,
You go ahead, Philip.
that's as small as we can make.
You can't go just full screen.
That is.
No.
Yeah.
That's what the guy said.
Is that better? I can make it bigger.
Yeah, so
Yeah, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, so, it kind of gives you a summary of what it is, but my point here is that you can use it for vision analysis. So if you have data, camera data, image data, you can have it analyze what's going on in that picture, right? And it can become a trigger for something, right? So like this one, drew a picture of a pig, analyze what's going on, identifies that the placement where the pig is, it was positive and optimistic. Orientation is the pig facing front, left, right, those kind of things. Are there details in your drawing? Tries to analyze that too. Are there legs? In this drawing, I didn't draw any legs, but it identified that you have the legs. So, yeah. So you may struggle with insecurities if you didn't draw legs. And then of course ears.
Wait a minute. Stairs, food.
And that's the one part of it. I don't believe AI, but it's someone else's opinion. But it analyzes if you have legs. That's the important thing, right? I mean, whatever AI says.
Yes.
But
What if you wanted to draw a close-up of the pig?
you can take a picture of anything. It might give you a-
When I
It
did
has a
legs, I
big
got
one.
the same opinion.
But that's the fun part. And that's what I wanted to showcase to everyone. AI is not perfect, right? But AI can give you some analysis of your data. Not necessarily the right analysis. It can do some analysis. In this case, it has opinion about ears. That's big. That's large ears.
Is this using some kind of a RAG pattern or are you going straight to the large language model?
It's large language.
So that there's no RAG with prior images of pigs.
There's no training on this. This is using a language model. There's also there's So this is what we call content understanding in Azure. So content understanding in Azure can actually help you, you know, process documents, images, video, and audio, and convert that into something structured output. So, for example, audio, you can have, I think it might make sense to have a demo because I'd rather show a demo rather than talk about the different features, because that's a lot of people would I think it makes sense to kind of say like, show me, right? I'd rather have show me than what this AI can do, right? So this one right here, it's called content understanding. So for example, we can use a document layout like this. Right? So I have this document, it has written text in it. Right? So written text, right? Check marks and all these. After it's processed, it can convert it into these markdown documents. Right? That has all the checks. Right? The contracts here, it was able to capture
Summary.
that, right? And you can also convert it into headings, paragraphs, right? Those in there, and you can convert it to text.
Hey Ron, is this a Copilot
So-
or is this?
So now, what can I do with this kind of thing, right? So it's not just documents that you can have it analyzed, also audio. So audio can be something like, recording.
Oh, may I help?
Yeah.
I'm looking to transfer money to my checking account. I have a $1,000 certificate of deposit that matured last.
So, just regular audio conversation, it actually converted into one, it summarizes what that conversation happens. It summarizes that. It also identifies what topics did they talk about. Money transfer, certificate of deposit, account, but also what companies was mentioned in that conversation. And if names were mentioned, the person that,
So did you have to give a particular prompt for this, or?
there is what they call a pre-built analyzer. So in this case, it's call center. So they already have something trained that you can use this for. So if you have call center data, it can be processed. Sentiment data, categories. I didn't have to start from scratch, especially for existing ones that you want. So a lot of it is OCR, if you want to use it for OCR, layout, understand tables, checkboxes, and also document fields, receipts, taxes, all these, or invoices. Those things can be processed. If you think about in a factory, you have bill of lading, they print that out and give that to you, give that information, they sign it, whatever data is there. These are operational OT data, right? Operational data that can be triggers for any IoT project. So receipts, US tax, those kind of things, IDs, passport, can be processed in these different systems. Mortgages, contracts, this already exists. That it's just a service that you can pass that in and it gets processed. And then you can extract data from these documents. Pay stubs, marriage certificate, cost centers.
This is all is Azure.
Yeah, the Azure.
This is Azure,
Yes,
yeah.
there's one for AWS.
Okay,
too.
okay. Okay.
My question was, so are you able to select which model you want to use? I mean, are you using GPT 5.1 or what are you using?
So they have a pre-trained analyzer. This one is actually using GPT 4.1. Yeah, so in the back, so you don't have to choose that one. It's pre-configured. Because it becomes just a service to extract it. So it understands the content and then you can extract it.
But if you so desired, then you can change the model or
You can for this one, I don't think you can. So it's using a predetermined model, but you can change the analyzer. So for example, right, and that's what I did for this pig drawing, right? So I have to build something to convert that. I can show you what that looks like. So build something. So this one, analyzer. So, let's see if I can get to. So for this pig analyzer, and this is what I put, image description, and then the description. You were talking about prompts, right? What are different prompts I did in order to make sure that the pig drawing that you have gets analyzed? One is I tell you, describe the image. Where's the vertical placement? Is it top, middle, and bottom? Orientation, is it left, right, and front? And then where's are there small details? Are there details in the drawing? There's the leg count, and is it visible? And then ear size, large or normal, and then tail length between 0 to 1. So come up with a number. But all these is generating a value after that. Isn't it interesting?
Mhm.
I mean, I just wanted to kind of make sure I understood the technology itself. And I didn't have to do a lot of programming. I just have this field description. I just identified these are the things I want to extract from my document. And then it helped me extract those. Okay, so I can test it again. I'll try another drawing of a pig. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, so are you actually training it?
I didn't
on
have to
big
train.
images, or you just,
I just asked, I configured,
okay,
right? Same way as you're configuring a dashboard and configuring I configured it to be able to generate these. And then whatever comes out are these information. And the result will look like a JSON file that I can treat it and use it for whatever data I want to use it for. So we converted it to this data. From images to this. It uses this, tells you a little bit about the contents of that data, the description, that's where, whatever this JSON file, I displayed it on that.
So the plugin that's back there, right, is doing feature extraction.
Feature extraction.
And so, classic Gaussian distribution, right?
Yes.
And so when you think about upgrading this and the type of spatial AI,
Yep.
because the different layer of visual logic, right? Is this something that is because you're mentioning that the LLM's there, it's doing entity intent work, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, too.
right. And it's passing the image analysis
Mention.
to the MCP style gRPC, right?
Right.
So my question is, if we're thinking about how we move this model forward, we've got entity intent down the LLM, all good.
Yeah.
But now we want to upgrade the feature capabilities. We would upgrade the plugin.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you would plug in what we call schema.
Yeah.
You would change if you want to improve, let's say the description, you can change how you wanted to extract that information. Right? So in this case, the field description, you would change the vertical placement. And if you want to add more,
Right.
you can. That identifies the intent.
And so this comes to the edge of visual language operations today, which is how do I think about tail? What does that mean?
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so for example, if it did not recognize the trick, you can use the same software or the same one. What if you take a picture of a beard? Would it be considered, would it recognize it as a pig?
Yeah.
It knows that you didn't draw a picture. And then it's invalid data. Right? Which it may have opinion of maybe your beer has a tail.
So all I'm coming to is there is a catalog of comparative features. And depending on how you think about recording those, whether you're generating a Gaussian hash, let's say, and now you encode it and you do embedding, and this is your lookup library for beer. Right? My question is, underneath this, there's already a visual layer that's been trained.
That's been awesome.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I was trying to get to.
Yes.
most of the time, there's even more than that.
There's even visual pre-processing on the image. Often
Right.
it'll flatten it to pure black and white as flat as possible
Okay.
to help with the detection models. There's using multiple even layers before it even gets to the LLMs or the object detection.
So one other follow-on then, because classically, in the way that we dimension a lot of reality, boundary-based detection,
Yeah,
right? And so my question is, when you talk about flattening,
Yes,
it's to enhance boundary-based detection.
correct. So if you're doing, and also object detection, because it wants to do pure 2D analytics. And notice some of those uploads had weird lighting and
Right,
all kinds
yeah.
of things that you
Right.
have to account for. So it usually flattens it to as close to a black and white image as possible. Then, like, there's image pre-processing that happens frequently.
So help me with this, just so I make sure,
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm going to be right about this, but in a single word, normalization is one of the ways in which we achieve the ability to gain, let's just call it a baseline for boundary detection. Yeah. And that's what the pre-processing is about.
Like, I worked with somebody that was scanning gasoline receipts, right? Well, what happens to most gasoline receipts? They get wadded up, right? That's the reality of things.
Okay.
So they ask to use to flatten out and take a picture. So it, quote unquote, there's a physical flattening of the image, and then there's a take a picture, and then it also flattens the image as well to try and do some reconstruction because the OCR won't work otherwise, right?
Yeah.
So there's often manipulation of the data prior to it even being analyzed. And if you want it to work.
Gosh,
Like, if you
gosh,
want it
it
to
will
work.
be, right?
And
Yeah,
of course,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay. got
in
it.
terms of training, a lot of these training data.
Well, that's not training. That's
Yeah.
the manipulation
it's
of
mani-
data.
yeah, it's
and
manipulation.
then it hits the
And then before it gets to training.
And so just as another add-on, because we know there's been organizations that have invested quite a bit to get the wire.
Mhm.
Right. HRL out, right? So the way this is there any metadata behind this? When you think about this library of pig, you know, that we've got, right?
Yeah. So, like, you're probably familiar with like the YOLO models, you know, object detection, etc.
Right.
So there's usually multiple models going on behind here. It's not usually just one. It actually runs through a list.
And so
And sometimes a list sequencing matters.
yes, and so I'll just add this, and not I don't want to dog like here, but the classic issue in emergent modeling is passing it through the phenomenological layers in an accretive manner, right? And so to your idea about the layers of processing, this is exactly what you're doing. Okay.
And the interesting part of it is not just, it's multimodal.
Yeah.
It's not just, I'm detecting the image. It's
Mhm.
actually including the text plus the images. Or it's down.
That's
Plus
multiple and
text, right?
simultaneous paths.
Yeah. So it's changing the way, you know, the classical computer vision models are changing too, because you're combining, you know, the training from the language models. Now it's combining vision models, right? Including vision models. So it becomes- Very good questions.
All right. Thank you.
Also, it can do video segment analysis. So why would you want to use something like this? Is you want to segment any video, right? So, and also at the same time, whenever you're trying to, let's say, an operational in a factory, something, right? You want it to be able to, you have a video, but you want to split it into like, how can you extract the data? What's the important data around it? So segment it. And at the same time, as you run it, you segment it and also identify the key frames, right? So key framing data gets processed in between those.
So a lot of hidden data. But coming to the classic issue of contextuality, and this is the foundation for a lot of, even today, what's being modeled in BLO is the idea of the relationship of objects and the dynamics that act upon them. And so the idea of context then is the context of this table, this glass.
Right.
A 30-mile-an-hour wind, glass is still on the table. 100-mile-an-hour wind, maybe not. Right? So when it comes down to this issue then of context, and I'm not trying to, this comes down to the plugin, okay? This is not
Right.
the element. Is where do you see this? I don't know that any use case that is, let's just call it pedestrian, which is, I got a PDF.
Right.
Okay, that's pretty pedestrian. Right? But when you start coming out to the VLO environment, this comes to the actual issue of reason. Yeah.
But it's seeking.
Yeah. Well, seeing and causality.
Causality.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because apparently in the way humans process VLO is we do not convert it to symbolic text in our mind.
Right.
We simply see a glass.
Yeah, we just see it.
Right? And so this idea of the reasoning that is actually a plane back or two from this idea of being able to, let's say, latently describe it through symbolic language, which is the foundation of communication. Yeah. And so all I'm coming back to, just winding it back to the plugin and the idea of where you see this going. It seems like coming to the original dog leg of 4.1 versus 5. Once you actually have it fit for purpose to the idea of we've got all this metadata, it's catalog, we might update some more objects in the catalog. But the algo is done, at least for a lot of the use cases. And why do I care? I care as CTO because I don't want to keep having churn in my plugin.
Right. And
Yeah.
you have to change it again. And then there's new one that's coming out.
Yeah.
Every few months, there's a new model that comes out.
Okay, because what I got to get to is CTO. I got to get to a plateau of management, right? I can just decrease the churn. I don't want my teams all over the place trying to keep up with everything that's changing. I want to come to a state of code that I can count on for my use cases and get to a plateau. Right? Yeah.
Still young on this right now.
But you understand why I'm.
Yes.
Oh, so finally,
Yes.
I got full circle. All right. Well, thank you kindly for your
Yeah.
explanation.
So, I mean, the whole point of also is a lot of these AI stuff is in the early experimentation phase, right?
Yeah.
But there are some documents that become standardized. And those are the ones that they have models now. It's kind of built in. IDs, taxes, receipts, and all those different things. If your use case is related to something that's a very common document that's out there, you can already process that and get and extract information. Videos is interesting for me because you can split videos into small areas and then also have video understanding of what's going on between the scenes and be able to do that and explain it.
Ron got a question.
Yeah.
So to use the example of processing receipts, for instance, what's the difference between what you're talking about here and the scanner that I bought 10 years ago that not very reliably, but scanned my receipts and took all the data and put it in fields
In fields? Because not just multiple. So the advantage of it is, of course, it's a different technology where it's using in the background, right? So in terms of the OCR versus using these AI models or language models, these LLMs in order to extract some of the information. But not just that, but it's not just extracting, but it's also generating data, generating summaries. That's also classification, what type of receipt. If you wanted to classify what type of receipt you can, and then process it, rather than extract data and then you have some special logic, you can also use it not just for extracting, classifying, and then generating, and also lookup. So let's say you have some other data that you wanted to look up as it processed in one process. So those are some of the things that are happening within this.
And you can PyTorch it on over to K.
Yeah.
Right. And so now you've got tabular.
Yeah. So it's more not just analyzing, not content extraction, but there's kind of gives you a confidence score, rounding.
Confidence score, like when you want up that receipt and flatten it back out, the numbers have cuts and lines. So sometimes the OCR doesn't have an object detection AI model can read that and go, I'm pretty darn sure that was a 2. Yeah. Or I'm pretty sure that's an L, not a 1. Where you get those where OCR tends to fail, it can contextualize it and say, no, that was an L or a 1. It knows for sure.
So
based on context.
Well, the key here is to your question about how is it any different from your standard of 10, 15 years ago, that was doing just pattern recognition. Yeah. This is doing pattern recognition only as a front end to a more higher level processing that includes and then natural language model, probably trying to do, as he said, some kind of generation of summaries. So there's a lot more intelligence built up in the back end than
Think about this in terms of like, let's say X-ray analysis, you have some images that's being analyzed, but you wanted to be able to go back to the original data where it was extracted, right? So the image itself, it can give you the link to where it is located in the document or where it is located in the image itself and say, this is where that data originated.
So provenance. One other question then, the classic issue is to go agentic, and this comes to the other question I think on your receipts. Hey, I kept getting audited because there was all kinds of cotton stuff in my pockets where I put my receipts that included them, and they got flagged. So I got audited 10 times, so my wife figured out how to get my jeans cleaned out of cotton in my pockets, right? But getting back to the image processing and let's say dynamic routing, MPC, gRPC, and calling the right tool based on multimodal versus, let's say, do we have the ability to kind of, if it's a complex image, and I don't want to necessarily have to create 10 different types of structures to do image analysis, can I put an agentic classifier router here, right, to pick the right plugin, or to do that next layer of processing, right? That's more complex and has the big recognition versus just straight field and text.
That's great. So the goal here is also you may use this to say, oh, this document is a receipt, this document is something else, right? And be able to route that to something else. And also at the same time, why would you want this for your agents, right? Improving their quality. We talked about the retrieval augmented generation, RAG, which is a lot of people are talking about these days. This is like the pre-processing that you need to convert your messy data into something that's searchable by those, RAG or those agents, right? Those retrieval agents. So to be able to say, okay, these are data that I can process, but at the same time, it points to the original document or the original place where it was extracted from, right? Because there's many messy data out there, but you can use this as part of the pre-processing in order to improve quality of search, right?
So question in your idea about architecture for generative, right? Should I have a standard meta level or llama level, let's say, as my general LLM, and then I RAG for verticals? So that,
It's a possibility.
Okay, so I guess what I'm looking for is this idea of how do I decrease the need to have SLMs all over?
That's correct.
Right?
You're right. So you have, like in this case, what we're trying to do, for example, is structured fields. If you have structured fields, it's easy to search those rather than raw documents, right? If you have documents and documents, you plug this into something searchable. If you have something structured, and you can use it to search. Your agent can search the structured document rather than the unstructured one. It would provide better answers, right? So anything structured is always good, especially on search and computers. So how can you do that? You can convert messy documents to something structured output. You search on the structured output.
I got it. So you tokenize out.
Yeah, tokenize those.
Yeah,
And it reduces also the amount of data because we maybe summarized it. But now, if let's say I'm asking a question, you want to know, I want to go back to the source of the document or PDF, or video, I can go back because it routes me to something structured. I can go back, right? So where it came from. So those are the things that are changing. If you think about the OCR products that 15 years ago, what it is right now is more, how can we extract some of the messy data to something structured that LLM or these agents can search and at the same time go back to the original document where it came from, because at the end of the day, that's what we need. We need to go back to the original data where it came from so we can verify the correctness of this.
There's other use cases.
Yes.
Like when you, because this is another one we come across. So you have an inventory sheet and they make weird truncations and abbreviations to fit on the page. So you'll have a lot of a line listed object and it says
Right.
dot, dot, dot. Yeah. So do you know what that item is? Sometimes the truncation, it's, where that's now being pushed through an inference model to say, I think with this % score,
Right.
that's what that line should have been. That's a super common one on inventory because they use codes and abbreviations and are inconsistent.
Yeah, and this handles nulls or other types of default mappings.
One last
Yeah, right.
exercise.
Okay, cool.
I want to do a live audience survey. So fill in the survey because you use that survey to be able to
Back to the pig.
the background. I have a form, so this one is kind of using that form. And so, always like to do all kinds
Be
of
as human and messy as possible. That's the goal.
Yeah. Of course, once you're done, you can scan the QR code, write the survey, and of course, I have a dashboard that kind of gives me, the results.
I think I have.
I'm trying to and I just want to. Is this exercise helpful? I want to make it interactive as much as possible because this is a good use of technology.
It's time best, one first.
Does it? It's harder to read, yes. I do apologize. My printer last night, I was like, I don't have it on me.
Is 5 good or bad?
I have
1 through 5.
1 to 5. 5 is
5 is best, okay.
now this is a good example of like OCR at the same time. I'm capturing the data, analyzing it, but also at the same time putting it on a dashboard. So the reasoning behind this is like when you think about IoT, you gotta have some messy data, you have some data from the audience, and I put it on the dashboard. Same way, you can take a picture of it using the application. Looks like it's working. We have our first survey. I have my NPS score is 5. Getting 100. Looking for my good NPS score. So. My net promoter score. For me, the important thing is you learn something new, right? Out of all these stuff that we talked about, is this something different from what the usual stuff that we do, right? And I just wanted to. My goal here is to kind of give you the different. So, what are the different changes that's happening in this industry itself? How are we leveraging AI, not just document processing, so some data we can use to be able to.
If you don't try to break the AI,
Right. We got our feedback.
you don't
Notice
want
our
human data,
live
you don't want
results.
structured
So so far I got a negative 14, but thank you for testing the system. So that's good. So we got everywhere, right? Different areas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I also have a feedback word cloud. So kind of based on the data that you sent, the data that was demos is a very common word that we use here. And so we have beginners, hobbyists, and some people that use Azure, feedback, comments, all that stuff. It's cool. Let me know if you still want to.
Can you see the data?
Huh?
Can you pull one of the,
Oh,
one of the,
I don't have it in to where I could pull this. It's anonymous, doesn't have your name on it. It's just some of the data.
Just curious.
But the goal here is, can I have a dashboard based from the data that you're sending towards this the process? Any other questions? How are we on time?
You got 10 minutes if you want.
Got 10 minutes?
Yeah, and we can actually go to 7:30 if necessary, so that's 5 minutes.
All right. I mean, a lot of my presentation that I talked about, what can you use this for, right? How did I architect a little bit on this? I can talk about that in terms of Azure and how you would process this in the background. Yeah, but in this case, I do bit extract, I generate, also classify, also produce the word cloud. Thanks. Summarize it. Yeah, go ahead.
So when it comes to using AI, unlike this gentleman across from me on the other side of the room, I am a complete rank beginner.
Okay.
I do use ChatGPT and I'm playing with that. It's becoming more useful to me, but like this stuff that you're talking about, I have no idea how to go about making that functional in my office. And I'll give you an example. We have a terabyte of video imagery that was shot from 5 different cameras, putting together a product that we build. And we want to make those videos accessible to our customers online so that they can use them for installing the thing and troubleshooting and all that kind of stuff. No clue how to go about making that happen, but it would be really useful if we could.
Yeah, and the interesting part is even ChatGPT, you can upload some of these documents as part of my first demo. Is these documents it can read some of that. You can start experimenting on a multimodal, because ChatGPT is multimodal. You can put video, you can put sound, and see how it can analyze some of your data. And you start there, right? You start trying that out. The same way as I was showing here. That's the first thing I did. Right? I have this document. And I wanted to analyze and extract the content. And it was able to extract some of the content. And if I can start there, actually, you can actually do it on ChatGPT now. It's called GPTs. I don't know if you've heard of that one. You can make your own for yourself. If you just want to. So this is the one I did. 3 possible features. That's the one. But this one is the presentation survey. Wanted to extract that data using GPT. How did I do that? I can make that happen. I can create a GPT to the new chat. But you have to fill in a few items, right? This is survey data extraction. And I place the schema of how I want my data to be extracted. And then that's pretty much it. And then I update and I create it. So now I can start using this. I can attach a survey data that specifically that what I'm testing. Right? Audience survey. Let's see if I have some data here. Let's say I have this survey data that I took a picture of it, and then I submit it. And based from my instructions for these GPTs, it converted to my data. It doesn't have to be JSON. I can convert it to like a table. I can convert it. I didn't have to program a lot of these, but I can find that useful. And now I can process another file and Start working on it.
But
Start
John,
using it.
what format is your data? What format is your video? What format is your video right now? Is your video?
Can you put the QR code
And
back up there again?
Is your video digital right now?
Yes,
It's a digital format.
yeah.
Okay, but you said you want your customers to make use of it.
We want to make it usable for our customers, yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, what chat would do, Ron, right, is it would take that and extract information from the video. Is that what you're looking
Well,
for?
I mean, they're like, the customer is, like, how do I hook up this particular device to the controller? Right. Or if it's not working properly, what could be wrong? You know, like the first step, there's probably not enough information in there for troubleshooting yet, but they could go find the clip that shows how to assemble that piece or how to wire that piece in. And I don't have anybody who can sit there for hours and hours and hours to find all those pieces and
So
make all those little
you'd
individual.
you'd like to have your video analyzed and then segments of it and have it searchable or
Yeah.
Yeah.
something like that. So what about that?
Or something that you wanted searchable, and splitting it out. There's,
So as an example,
is it
you would have to put additional your engineering diagrams so things were clearly labeled. Like,
Sure.
This is your module, all that. And then start having the AI saying, using
Taking the
these
manual.
documents, can you tell me all the
Search.
instances where this module was manipulated? But you're gonna have to keep constantly feeding it in order to give it context.
Okay.
And also your video segments need to be text as well.
Yes.
Because
correct,
then
yeah.
you will be able to
Good names
search.
on your video.
But if you run an NLP transcript, it will categorize these topics.
Well, so you just spoke a different language.
So on YouTube, as an example, you'll notice that YouTube categorizes and says, in this part, we're going to talk about the weather. This part will be about the traffic.
Right.
This part will be about the ride home. Right. And because there's audio underneath it, people speaking, right? You have this translation of voice to text.
Yep.
And it's this translation of voice to text that makes it a book. Right. And most of the GPTs out there can help you sort out the book and where in the time code on the video that particular topic begins.
If you have the views coming from 4 different cameras, would it be able to tell that those were the same at the
Is there
same
audio
time?
or some other way?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's all been
Some
synced.
audio.
It's all been synced.
Okay, so then yes.
That's great. Then you
Yeah.
do, but yeah. I mean, use text to speech.
It was,
and kinda know to pull it together.
You know,
Socks, that's all I can think of. You wear socks.
the videographer who was over at Texas for a while.
Red hair.
He's a producer.
I'll never be done.
Yeah, he was him. He shot. and he had-
Miles and miles.
As long as the audio is sync on
He
those
synced it
videos,
all up.
then there's a lot of
Well,
data.
And just to give you some names of some tools today, like Corel Video Studio 2024, $100, right, or whatever it is. Those are some pretty good tools today to give you the ability to produce what those
Okay.
right?
There's existing tools to do video
Yeah.
editing.
They're not expensive.
Right.
You have to learn them a little bit, but after you do, man, it's straightforward. The classic issue of what you're managing is knowledge. And so what happens typically, if you study how, let's say, customer experience works, they might start with a chat, or they might start with a query on the knowledge base. But the link to the knowledge base article will include a link to the video with the time code. Right. So there's lots of ways to think about it. But my encouragement, beyond the idea of figuring out how to produce it, is to begin to get into the process of the curating, which is you have to get the raw stuff done. You have to have somebody look at it and goes, I think that's good. And then it has to become eligible for publication. And then you got to set a life cycle date on the element. Say, this is good until 2025 or somebody should look at this, next month or next year, so that we have a life cycle of the knowledge. And that gets it into the normal editorial process of producing knowledge. This is how we syndicate it. This is how we get it out to our customers. You have a complete process now that's everything once.
Okay.
So, anyway, do you have any other questions? I shared my contact if you want to connect with me. Best way to contact me is through LinkedIn. Yeah, definitely. Looking forward. If you have any questions, let me know. That is my presentation, Mike. Thank you very much, everyone.